Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Wormhole. This week we're taking a look at Path of Exile. This is a free-to-play game available now on Steam just recently. It's been available elsewhere prior to that. It's by a company called Grinding Gear Games, so you can probably guess what type of game this might be. It is in fact a Diablo-style action RPG. It's pretty interesting though. They've done a couple things that are very different than a lot of these similar type of games have done in the past. So let's go on in here and take a look. So I've got three characters here. My furthest, which I'll be playing as, is a ranger. We'll start out and I'll show you a little bit of this, and I'll show you some of the character creation because there is some interesting stuff there as well. Load times are pretty quick in this game. Now this is kind of the first city, or first hub I guess, for the first act of the game. It is broken up into acts as is tradition. The first thing that we're going to take a look at before we go any further here is I just want to take a look at the options and show you a couple things here. If ever you play this, I'll show you a couple options I strongly recommend that you set up. So first of all, everything's in the UI section that I want to talk about right now. First of which is show corner map. That's you can see over here in the top right. Gives you a little mini map. No real reason not to have that on. It doesn't take up a lot of space. You can of course hit tab to get the more full screen map, similar to things like Diablo 2. Obviously I'm going to be making a lot of references to Diablo 2 in this video. Not so much Diablo 3, as it's a lot closer to Diablo 2 in terms of general gameplay and function for the game. And I think you'll kind of see that as we're going through it if you've played the game. Now, in terms of default options, these are off by default, always highlight. This is pretty important, in my opinion. It makes it so that any items that drop are going to be visible on the ground all the time, so it'll say their names. The reason I say to put that on is because unlike Diablo 2 or a lot of different action RPGs, the items don't really seem to be super obvious on the ground. Everything's kind of like, everything's very gritty looking in this game. It's very dark, very like grim dark in a lot of ways, so items I found tend to blend in, especially in spots like caves. I recommend turning that on just so you can see them. Along with that though, I would also use key pickup. Key pickup makes it so that whenever you have your show items key, which by default is Alt, I've rebounded to V because I find it's just easier to hit for the key layout for the game. You can only pick things up while holding down that key. So you can click on the items, you'll just run towards them, and that's about it. So it doesn't interfere with your gameplay or anything like that, but it will make it so you can at least see the items and you make sure you don't miss anything important. I also put always show sockets on. Oops, that's not the right section. Always show sockets is to do with your inventory. So you have these sockets here. Without those on, you don't see them. These sockets are pretty important. These are your skills, so you really want to have those visible, in my opinion, at all times. There's not really a good point not to. You might accidentally sell something that has a really important skill that you like to use on it. Other than that, I mean, most of the other things are, you know, I have mini life bars on allies and enemies. Just makes it easier to spot enemies if you've hit someone or something like that. I unchecked join global and trade chats. That's more of a personal preference. You get a lot of kind of chat spam from people. Since this is online only, you do get a lot of people talking. Normally actually you'd be seeing a lot of players, like there's two right over here, just kind of chilling around the town. So, what is this game? Why should you potentially take a look at it? Well, firstly, this is my inventory here. There's no money. And I don't mean like I don't have money, there is no currency. Currency in this game is
What help I can offer is yours.
essentially your items. So scrolls of wisdom, which is like identify scrolls, and portal scrolls, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff that I have in my stash. As you can see here, like if I wanted to buy this ring, it cost me 3 scrolls of identify. So that means that you don't have this cumbersome system of like carrying around thousands of gold. You're not worrying about picking up all this little gold on the ground in case there's for some random reason a vendor item you want. You just kind of carry the stuff that you kind of want to carry anyway, and it just makes more sense to do it that way. It's kind of weird when you're selling. It kind of discourages selling, in my opinion, because selling things you don't get money directly that you could purchase stuff with. You'll get these kind of like, a lot of times you get like fragments, so like 5 of these fragments becomes a scroll of wisdom, which is a scroll of identify. You get these little transmutation shards, which become these orbs of transmutation, which are kind of cool, makes a normal item to a magic item, and so on. You get like lots of little like bits of things to collect. I imagine later on you start getting things that are worth more, but so far it doesn't really encourage you to loot a whole lot. It's more about picking up the things that you actually want to use more than anything. And also, because your scrolls of identify are also currency, it kind of encourages you to not just identify everything you find, because you can't just go and like rebuy a ton of scrolls. Now, you sometimes can buy scrolls, but they cost other currency items, so you're kind of losing one currency for another, which is not really the best way of doing it. It doesn't really make any sense. So, let's go out to a little dungeon area here. So let's talk about skills. Now, traditionally in an action RPG, you kill things, you level up, you get a talent point, you put that in things, and you get a new ability. Now, you do still level up, of course, you do still get talent points, but that's not how you get your skills. Your skills all come from these little gems, which you get from quests or as drops and things. And as an example here, on my right click, I've got Poison Arrow, which is somewhere in here, this one here. If I take that out, I don't have Poison Arrow anymore. My right click does nothing, I can't reset it, I literally lose the skill. So you have to really make sure that you keep your skills in your current equipment, and if I swap to another thing, you see I lose those skills, so it has to be on your active weapon set. They do also level up as you use them. As you can see here, this has got 3,778 of 8,818 experience. That is not from use of the item, it's from having it in an item while you're killing stuff. So you kind of power them up by having them, and the longer you've kept one, the better it'll be. It's a percentage of your experience, so if you get a new one later on, it'll level up really quick at the beginning, and so on. Now you do have to have the stats to level them, which is where the colors kind of play in, so you can see that I've got mostly green. Stop mousing over stuff, so you got mostly green, I have one blue, and I have an empty red socket over here. Each of those has to do with one of the 3 main stats. So you've got dexterity is the green, blue is intelligence, and red is strength. Being a ranger, this character is generally dexterity focused. I say generally because there's actually nothing stopping you from using any other gems, you just need the stats to be able to do it. Like I've got this freezing pulse thing here, so I can use this whenever the heck I want with no penalty. Currently I can't level it up because I don't have enough intelligence, but if I did have enough, I would be able to use it. And you'll see how you get stats later on. You don't get kind of stat points to distribute per level. But yeah, that's something to keep in mind. So skill gems and sockets are really important. When you're looting things, you need to make sure that you get the right stuff. You don't want to replace something that has all of your useful gems with something that's got all red sockets if you're using green gems, because you can't use your skills anymore, which is not bueno. Along with that, you got obviously the usual kind of general stuff, you know, rare items, normal items, magic items, etc. And you got your potions. Potions work a little bit differently in this. They work by charges. So as you can see here, this one gives me 50 life over 2.8 seconds, consumes 8 of 28 charges on use, currently has 28 charges. What does that mean? It means I drink it, I now have 20 charges. So you can use the potions again and again. They do not actually disappear. If I was to drink this all, I still have the empty flask. Killing enemies will actually refill your flask uses, so you basically never run out of potions. You get to keep the ones that you like, so you find these magical flasks that give you cool bonuses, and you just kind of keep them because they will always be useful. So let's just go here, kill a couple things. So right now as a ranger, I'm focusing on arrow skills. It's not to say that rangers will always focus on arrow skills. In fact, that's actually a core tenet of the game, is that you're not forced to do anything in particular. Classes don't determine your skills, as I mentioned earlier, so you aren't limited to like, oh, I'm an archer, I have to use bow and arrow, I have to do this. No, it's the skill tree system in this is very kind of complicated. Actually, let's take a quick look at the skill tree before going too much further, otherwise I'm going to forget to do it. So, passive skill tree. If you've ever seen, there's been a picture floating around on Reddit. This is the skill tree. Yup, all that. Now, it looks intimidating, and I'm going to be completely honest, it very much is. However, it's simpler than it actually looks. Essentially what it is these big kind of nodes here, like you see this one's colored in, and these ones are empty. Those are the different class starting points. This is the same skill tree for every class. The class just determines where you start. So obviously it puts you closer to the things that are kind of more intended or more focused on your character. But there's nothing stopping me from, you know, making my way over to here and then picking up a bunch of like magic stuff or whatever happens to be around it. The individual nodes all do different things, so you get evasion and life, attack speed, accuracy, damage, dexterity. So these are flat stats. So this is where your stats kind of come from as you go along. These are intelligence. Am I getting killed? Yes, I am. And so you kind of work your way around. The bigger nodes are usually a bonus, so this is more of a, instead of just like a smaller increase, usually the larger ones. So these are the ones that will kind of more tailor your character. The way that this is kind of intended to work is that you will more or less kind of have to plan your character to a small extent, in the sense that you have to kind of know more or less what you want to do. There's nothing, I mean, it doesn't take super long to level up. I haven't been playing this game for very long to get level 16. It just kind of comes pretty quick. But you want to figure out, like, I knew I wanted to kind of go an arrow character since I don't really know much about what I'm doing, so I figured I'd play with this character's kind of main strength. So I'm just kind of working my way, got Ballistic Mastery, some aspect of the Eagle, which gives me damage with bows, and now I'm working my way up to, I was going to grab Revenge of the Hunted here, but I'm focused more on getting piercing shots so my arrows go through enemies, maybe acrobatics, you know, you kind of like, I'm mostly working on one thing at a time, working my way to a specific node, getting it, and then looking around to see, okay, what's next. So I'm not using like talent calculators or anything like that to plan out my characters. I'm more just deciding on a playstyle and then building one step at a time from there. And so far that seems to be pretty easy. It's not very hard to understand, especially since if you're just working on one particular thing. You can definitely take the time to read through everything in the skill trees first to sort out exactly your whole character's plan. There's absolutely nothing stopping you from doing that. In fact, in a lot of cases, that's probably a really good idea. But in terms of kind of your first character, messing around, learning how the game works and everything, it's really not necessary. You can very easily kind of pick it up as you're going through and just kind of focus on what seems cool at the time. The skills that you receive from the quests are determined by your class, so you will be getting specific stuff. So a mage will be getting mage type spells, generally speaking, but they do get some other things as well. They will get a greater focus on intelligence based things for obvious reasons, as they are an intelligence class, but that's not going to prevent you from being able to play a mage, pick up a sword, and beat people's face in with your sword, and get some sword skills to go with that. The game also has a shared stash, so you can very easily grab items that you have found on one character, including skills, and put them in your stash to use on another character. So you can make a brand new character that has got some kind of cool items that you'd already collected previously and just want to keep hold of for later on for maybe another character. Maybe you found a really cool summoning spell and you might want to play a summoning character later. I would personally recommend keeping every skill that you've found, at least one copy of it anyway, so that way if ever you make a character that wants to use it, you don't have to kind of dig around for it or anything like that. But yeah, that's kind of generally how it seems to be going so far. So as you can see, my health potion from earlier did refill. It's not over time, so you can't just sit there against a boss and kite it around while you chug more and more potions forever. You do have to kind of play a bit more strategically, and you do have a limited kind of supply going into fights. So you can take a quick look at my skills here. So I've got the default attack, of course. I've got Freezing Pulse, which just kind of shoots this out. It's pretty weak because I can't level it up much, but I mostly just have it because why not? I had a blue slot. Poison Arrow is kind of my AoE focused thing. It makes a little poison cloud, as you can see here. And he's going to take damage over time. Really good in narrow dungeons and things to clear space out. I've got Split Arrow, which originally only shot 3 arrows. It's actually leveled up and gets more. You have to be careful actually. If you look over these stats here, that's not from the skill specifically. that is from my items. So I have stuff that leeches life and all that kind of stuff. So it displays the aggregate of what affects it. So physical skills will use your weapon stats and that kind of thing, so you can see some different numbers on there compared to like a spell. Spells don't take stats from your weapon unless the stat is like intelligence or spell damage, that kind of thing, of course. The gear also is kind of interesting. It's got 3 different types of stats on it, which I can actually show you because I have all of them. So you've got armor, evasion, and energy shield, as you can see on here. Energy shield was giving this blue kind of tinge around my health bar. Armor is more geared strength, evasion is geared for dex, and energy shield is geared for intelligence. You're not forced to, again, because obviously you can put whatever you can as long as you can equip it, but they are geared towards it. So the requirements for using something that's got armor and evasion takes strength and dex. Something that is pure evasion takes only dex and is usually higher, and so on. I hate exploding wolves. So one of my skills is actually about to level up over here. You can see it's Ice Shot. It's just going to kind of be improving. I don't have to do anything. As it fills up, it'll eventually get to the max, at which point it'll prompt me to click it. You can not click it if you don't want to level up your skill. It does increase the mana cost and associated things like that. So sometimes if you are on a low level character, you may not want to level it up right away, otherwise you could end up finding yourself unable to actually equip your cool, awesome spell you just leveled up because it was too awesome to not use. This here, as you can see up ahead of my minimap, there's kind of a thing here. This is a shrine. They're not always there, from what I understand. They're kind of a special thing, so now I have an acceleration shrine. Shrines, unlike something like Diablo, will actually affect the enemies, and they continue to affect the enemies until you pick them up. So enemies essentially get crazy, ridiculous buffs. All the enemies near there were getting speed buffs, and I had to take it over to get control of that. But then I get the speed buff, and I get to become an awesome speedy god. Speedy god Zealous. Now, I'm not really looking at what most of these items that are dropping are, because I know that, first of all, I only really want to equip magic items, obviously, at the point that I'm at. Unless I find something that I've never seen before, I might check out what it is. If it's a normal version of a higher tier than what I currently have on, I might grab it to upgrade it later on to a magic item, because you have items to do that, you might as well use them. So I've actually got lots of skills about to level up now, it looks like. As you do quests in the game, you do actually receive respec points. That pretty much does exactly what you would think it would do. You get a very limited number of them though, otherwise you actually have to pay for them or re-roll the character. So this is a free-to-play game, as I mentioned, so there is a microtransaction store. However, it's definitely not pay to win in any sense from what I have seen. Let's take a quick look. It's all cosmetic stuff for the most part. You can get these little pets that just kind of wander around and don't do anything. Awesome ferret, because why not? There are account things, but it's essentially extra bank tabs, extra character slots, and that kind of thing. It doesn't actually affect your ability to be better than anyone else. It lets you store stuff. And you have 4 tabs about this size in your stash by default across all characters. So that's actually not terrible to begin with. You get little item effects. You can get your weapon all fiery, transfer skins, so that the neat thing you got, it's got the cool skin of the low level rare that you'd found. Skill effects, you can make it so that when you use certain skills they look different because awesome skulls and zombies are neat. So it's all just pure cosmetic. This doesn't change the effects of anything. It just makes things look cool and makes it look like you stand out a lot. Same thing for animations. You can buy dances. $1,000 will buy you a unique item, because why not? If you have $1,000, you can have your own awesome sweet ass axe of sexitude. It does have a guild system as well, so you can get little extra things, guild stash. there isn't one by default, so that's kind of the only thing that's a little bit of a disadvantage, but honestly you can trade between your guild members already, and you can see this is a guild that I created, your face is a guild, and it's kind of just like a friends list without having to have people on your friends list. So it makes it a little bit easier, you get your own chat channel, all that kind of stuff as well. But pretty fair microtransaction system, can't really fault them for that. Everything looks pretty cool. The custom designed item is about the look and flavor text. You don't choose the stats. I imagine if you design like a theme of like, this weapon is all on fire and looks like it's made of lightning, the presumably won't make it like a cold damage weapon. That'd be kind of silly. But at the same time, you don't get to like choose like, I want it to have 11 billion HP on it so that I can never die ever again. I'm fairly certain they will keep it balanced still. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. $1,000, it's a decent amount of money to give to a fairly small indie developer. And like most of the recent Diablo style games, the game is also kind of touted as being made by some of the people that made Diablo 2, because there's a lot of them and they all kind of have gone to different places. Same thing with like Torchlight, Torchlight 2 obviously, obviously Diablo 3. Drawing a blank on other ones, but there's a couple of them recently that have been advertised. That Hellgate London was an example from a couple of years ago. So there's been a fair amount of these Diablo style games. So here my skills leveled up. I can right click this to hide it, or I can, you know, level it up, and I don't really see the point in not doing it. Hey guys, we're back. Sorry about that. There was a problem with my hard drive, ended up being full. This is actually a pretty large video overall because of the resolution that this is going in, because it's a windowed game, and yeah, so I'm just going to wrap this up here. So after the skill level up that you saw me do just before it cut, all that really happened was I went to the next area and leveled up. Unfortunately, I don't have the skill point anymore to be able to show you, but it's not very complicated. I just chose a skill node and got the bonus right away. That's all there was to it. Now we're just going to take a quick look at the Leagues business that I mentioned earlier with the character creation, and then we'll wrap up the video for it today. So, character creation, you got all your different characters in the back here. Templar is kind of a holy warrior type based on strength and int. Shadow is dexterity and int, assassin-y type character. Marauder is the barbarian style pure strength character. Ranger is the pure dexterity archery type character. Duelist is the strength and dexterity style character. I don't really have a comparison for him. And the witch is the pure intelligence character. Just go in the back, stop talking. Alright, so what's interesting about Path of Exile character creation is leagues. Now what are leagues? These are leagues. So you have your standard mode type things, which is standard, and hardcore. Hardcore being if your character dies, unlike most of these games, you don't actually lose your character, they just become a standard character. So you get 1 life in hardcore, at which point you get shunted to normal. So a little bit different, a lot more lenient, especially it makes sense in a game where there's microtransactions. They don't want you to lose anything that you have paid for, which I think is very appreciated by most people. And then you have these actual challenge leagues themselves. So these are kind of timed things. In this case, it's running October 23rd to February 23rd, so runs a fair length of time. That would be October, November, December, January, 4 months. Yeah, I'm that bad at math, guys. If you complete all the challenges, you do get real-world loot. So in this case, if I completed all the 8 difficulty challenges, you get a exclusive t-shirt. And these are encouraged to play because they have additional items, recipes, unique things. So there's all kinds of stuff that's bonus to them. And they do tweak up the gameplay a little bit. No, log me back in, please. So Domination is the default mode that I was playing in earlier, where you saw the shrines. So there's powerful shrines that monsters are worshipping at, steal the shrine power. When Domination ends on February 23rd, any characters in this league will become regular characters. Nemesis is the hardcore variant on a challenge league. In this case, all rare enemies will have an additional mod from a Nemesis pool, so that's kind of an extra modifier set that the enemies can end up having, which will make them, of course, tons more fun. So how to make your hardcore even harder? Put new and more powerful mods on your enemies. When Nemesis ends, a character becomes hardcore, and a character who dies in here becomes standard. So you don't go Nemesis to hardcore then to standard. It's Nemesis, you die, you become standard, so it's just like the normal hardcore mode. That's basically it. So you choose your character, kit them out the way that you want. You do get a starting weapon, of course, and you start with a skill that is based on your character's starting stats. So obviously it's recommended to use, especially early on, since your character has not been customized in any way other than the name at that point. So your character is best using the skill that you begin with, but you can very quickly kind of tweak them and work your way towards whatever the heck you want them to do. So if you really wanted your melee witch for some reason, you definitely could. You can totally go down a path of strength and dexterity instead of intelligence. You'll have to go through some intelligence to get to that point, but there's nothing stopping you from doing so if you really wanted to. And so that's it for our look at... No, actually, I almost forgot. These things here are the other thing that are kind of cool. These are races. Now, races in Path of Exile are not like a foot race. It's not get from point A to point B. It's a special challenge, almost like a league in a lot of ways. So you create a brand new character in it. You don't have access to any of your existing characters or your stash when you're in a race. And the point is to get as many points as you can. And you get points by reaching certain levels with that character without dying. If you die, you kind of end it and you loot it. That's the end of your race. And also for doing certain objectives along the way, which are dependent on the actual race itself. So whatever you have to do, these kind of solo endless ledge descent, as it says, the rules are on the forums, so that will give you more idea as to how you get your extra points. But essentially you play in these races and you get points. The top people will get special prizes and skins and that kind of thing. So it's kind of neat, definitely to keep you playing, because obviously it's a free-to-play game. They have to make money somehow, so they want to encourage you to make more characters, keep playing for long periods of time, and they do that with their leagues and the races to keep you entertained with always new stuff kind of going on. So you don't just get like your one character, get it maxed out, and that's it. They really encourage you to start over fresh, and they make it easy by giving you the stash, and you get all kinds of cool stuff. So that's it for our look at Path of Exile. I strongly recommend that you check this game out if you are even remotely a fan of action RPGs. If you like Diablo 2, fantastic, take a look at it. It's much more Diablo 2 than it is Diablo 3, as you can probably have been able to tell. I am very much enjoying it. I've been playing this game a lot since I started planning to do this video. So yeah, definitely strong recommendation from me. This has kind of been taking up a lot more of my time than I had actually intended it to with playing this game, so they have a definite approval rating from me. That is it for the time being. I did start a Twitch TV account as well, so you can check that out at twitch.tv/Wormeck. I'm going to be streaming games that I'm playing pretty regularly. Essentially anytime that I'm playing a game that I can stream. If I'm not recording it for a video here, I'm planning on having the stream running in the background with my mic available. I may not always be using my mic, but I'll always have it at least close at hand if I need to pick it up for anything, if you guys have questions for me or anything like that. So if you're interested in my videos, definitely do me a favor and check that out as well. And that is it for the time being. So if you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe as always. And until next time, Wormeck out.